everybody, happy Monday. This is Overpass Live. I'm Eric. I make apps, and this is the weekly live stream where we just hang out and talk about whatever we talk about. I haven't really prepared anything. We haven't really structured anything, but we get together as developers, as the mobile community, to sort of hang out and talk about what's been going on through the week. So I guess the biggest thing is kind of what happened last Monday. I guess we talked about last Monday, which is iOS 15 came out. And for me, it was going through and updating all of my test devices, which was a huge mistake. So, I updated 2 of my 3 iPhones. So I updated 2. The one reason I didn't update the other one was because it was an iPhone 5 and it didn't upgrade to iOS 15. It doesn't go up past 11 actually. So that I can still test out like 32-bit applications. Like, not that it's that much of a deal anymore because you can't even submit 32-bit applications anymore to the App Store. But I updated both of my test devices to iOS 15, and now I've got the Xamarin issue. So, like, for those of you guys who use Xamarin or any frameworks, I'm waiting for Visual Studio for Mac to catch up with the latest version of Xcode, just so I can do some debugging. So everything I have to do debugging is on my main phone on a physical device, which sucks. You always should test on a physical device, but development, I only do development on a device if it requires Bluetooth or the camera or something where it's just too difficult to use on the simulator. Anyway, that's me. That's my week. Also a bunch of client stuff, working on different stuff. Oh, can you guys hear me okay? Let me make sure you guys can hear me before I go rambling on, and make sure there's not some music playing in the background like we've had happen before and all that kind of stuff. So let's see. So yeah, good. It's just been a nice week. I feel like it's just the weather's been nice here in England, and I just got so much client stuff to do. But it's one of those weeks where, when the stars align and everything just kind of works. Like, you're going, okay, let's see, let's fix this thing. Oh, there it is, right? I couldn't find it last week, but there it is. I found this issue, right? Oh, here's another one over here. Oh, that's what it was, right? Sometimes if you're in a, like, as a developer, sometimes you're in a bad mood and you just don't see the solution that's right in front of you. And then you come back to it a couple of days later or a week later and you're like, dude, what was I thinking last week? I spent hours on that. And then it was right there, right? Or a lot of times, like I said, you go to the bathroom. Like, I'll go to the bathroom and then it will occur to me as I'm standing there. Or sitting there. But most of the time when I'm standing there, the solution comes to me. And so I always think the thing that was holding me back was excess urine. But anyway, so I hope you guys are having a really good week. Let's see who's here. We got Joe. Joe's here. Hey, how's it going? Let's see. Chord Funk. Yo, Chord Funk. Hola. Anything new? There's not really a whole lot new to talk about this week. There's iOS 15. Apple's doesn't want to let Epic back onto the App Store until they do all their appeals and everything like that for their kind of stuff. And we talked about, which is what we talked about a bit last week. And there was this really... See, every so often you guys will put a comment on one of the videos and then you remove it. And there was a really good one by Matt Glover, and I wish he posted. I don't want to say what it is because he removed it for a reason, obviously. But he did one about that. And as much as I was like really excited about the Epic and Apple thing, now it's like as more time goes, I'm thinking, this is going to come back to get us as app developers at some point. And because just seems like things are just getting tighter and tighter. Just the ad mob side and everything like that too. But other than that, everything's going all right. So let's see. Robbie says, hey, Eric, what's up? Any new personal app coming out? No, I keep working on it. There's this one I keep working on, and then I think I start working on it. And then every time I work on a personal app, I know that there's like a couple other applications I need to be working on. So like today was mostly meeting day. So I had a bunch of meetings on applications that I need to either change the designs of or just do little things. And I'd work on these either on, so I've been doing a bit of work on these apps on the weekends. And like a good example of the kind of thing that just derails me is like last week, the week before last, I was in Ireland. And I was just like taking a vacation. Like, I don't take vacations very often, but as soon as I go, everything started to break for everybody. And it was like one person's app just stopped working and I couldn't. So I thought, okay, let me run. It's like some really old code. I didn't write it, but I just took it over. So I'm like looking at it and trying to think, okay, the error I'm getting is not consistent with the, like, it was kind of a thing where something just stopped working, like a service, and it turned out to be a Google service that was running in the background. But it wasn't like, it was really tricky to find it because I couldn't get it running in Xcode because the code was just like not running anymore. Like obviously, like if we need to do any updates to this application, it's going to be a big chunk of work because we have to get it so it works in a. It was something to do with launching a UI. A UI view in a background thread was not running and it was raising an error. Oh, just little things like that where you're like, that kind of this stuff that's even like difficult to explain. Like I was trying to explain to him what the issue was, and it was like I know it wasn't getting through like to the client. And in the end, that wasn't the issue at all. Like the compiled application that's out there is fine. It's just it was like I get this all the time with Ionic applications where you just can't compile them anymore, right? They so just leave that version out in production because you need to make a bunch of changes just to get it to compile. I have the same issue with EarSpy, which is in Swift 2, and I need to get it up to Swift, at least Swift 4. And I'm just, every time I go into to work on it, I'm just like, so anyway, but other than that, things are okay. Let's see. Patrick, hey, how's it going? Let's see. Robbie says, publishing a new app as one-person army is so difficult, so much work. Yeah, it is. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons, one of the things that frustrated me when I was doing it before was that people would be like the perfectionist saying, you know what, you really should do this. You should spend more time doing market research. You should spend more time doing this. You should change the icon to this. You should do all this. And everything was like, you should. And that's why things don't get done, right? Because as a one-man army, you got to get to that, dude, I need to go live. If I don't go live today, there's going to be another thing that comes along tomorrow or another idea or another whatever. So sometimes you just got to get something out there, even if it's not perfect. And a lot of the times that's how procrastination starts. It's like, I've known so many people over the years that have been like, dude, I've been working on this app, and they're just like, when's it going to go live? It's, I think, a few months time, and it just never does because there's always something else because they have like a new idea or whatever. And they're just second guessing it before it even gets in front of any users. So yeah, it is tough in that respect, definitely. Any good tips for a video trailer for an app? I think just there's so many templates out there, and they're all the same. I had a friend, he was another app developer, but he gave up. He adopted the whole, you don't sell the app, you sell shovels. That was the whole Gold Rush thing. So he started to have this app trailer service. So he would make trailers for apps, and they all looked the same. They were all strummy guitar music. Phone flies into view. You see the screenshot, phone flies out of view, comes in on the side, and I hate those. I think I like videos where they actually show a bit of the gameplay, a little bit of finger, but the finger going on there, but it should look a bit professional, not like you're filming it from like in a dark room or whatever, because I don't think that looks very good. But have some good background music, have some good action in it, but at the same time, just video editing is not that tough. It's once you learn the basics of it. I mean, maybe if you're doing like this masterpiece, I know you could go down a certain route when you do video editing. I know this from doing the daily videos, was like sometimes they'd be like, maybe I'll research color exposure, color grading, or maybe I'll depth of field, all this kind of stuff. And in the end, it wasn't really that important. The important thing was getting the video out there and getting it out there. So when you look at basic video editing, it's not that tough to do, especially if you just use something like Camtasia or something, record the screen, run it in a simulator or however you're doing it, and then just being able to, there was this thing called phone finger, which I talked about before, which I use a lot, so at least you can see a finger going up and down even though I was recording it on my screen. And that wasn't I don't know if that even exists anymore, but to me, I would think just create it yourself. There's so many templates, but they all look the same. And if you're gonna do one, don't use strummy guitar music like jing 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 jing. I hate that. But I might be a bit, maybe I'm just. Celtic Whispers. Hey, hello, Eric. Been experimenting with Adalo 2 week. It's super interesting. It's easy. Hashtag bonus. I'm gonna check to see what that is because I don't really know. Let's see. Adalo 2. Oh, no, so no code thing. Let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at it together, shall we? Let's see. So $2. Meet $2. Your amazing app concept. Turn your startup with no coding. There was an article I read. I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago, talking about how businesses were looking towards no code solutions because it's able to get them. They're able to prototype a lot quicker and make a lot more use of their stuff without having to invest in developers. So it's like one of these things where it's kind of like you kind of see it coming the same way a lot of people turn to WordPress or Wix or stuff like that. Free pen unlimited apps published a $1 domain, $1 domain, $1 branding, limited to 50 rows per data per app. Okay, let me go back to features. Turn real ideas into real apps without writing a single line of code. Let's see, database. Database. Cool. All right, let's start building for free. Let's start building for free and let's see what this experience is like. I can't use social media. I have to actually do a thing. Nobody copied my password. What do you guys think about social media logins? Because I think they're kind of the thing where I didn't like them to begin with. All right, I'm going to turn off my screen here really quick. I didn't like them to begin with, but now it's like I've just become so used to them. All right, here we go. I'm going back to my desktop. What kind of app do you want to make? A desktop web app or a native mobile app? I want to make a native mobile app. Let's try this out. I want to do a chat ordering. How do I scroll? Oh, here we go. I want to do a. Let's do a coaching app. Primary color, sure, why not? Let's go with orange. Secondary color, we're gonna go with pink. Okay, cool. The app is gonna be called Overpass Coaching App. Let's see. Is this boring to you guys? Let me know. Okay. Say that and that. We got a good getting started video. Okay, so all right. So it's like kind of like a thing here. Let's see if we can preview it. Now, when it exports, this is one of the things I'm wondering: is it like an HTML5 type thing? Create coach account. Cool. All right. It looks pretty nice. A lot of these look the same. So if I was going to add a new page, how would that work? I'd add a screen. I would do an app bar screen. Call it test. Okay. And how does that fit in with the main stuff? The navigate. I'll have to have a look at this. I mean, a lot of the times, like when you get to this, I mean, when we talk about using app builder software, one of the things that I kind of like, I get a bit nervous about it. I mean, like probably like a lot of developers do, like, are we going to become irrelevant because this kind of stuff exists? But a lot of the times they still deal with concepts that if my clients were to use this, they would be lost. So it's, I mean, it wouldn't take them long to, I mean, I don't know. I think they would be intimidated by it. And as a developer, maybe it could be the kind of thing where you can quickly get something up and running. The only thing is, whenever I use any kind of framework, that's when the client will come to me and say, okay, we want to do this other thing. We want to integrate with Siri or something like that. And you're like, ooh, that's one of those difficult things. I don't know if you guys find that to be the case, but I get into that kind of conversation all the time. Oh, hey, can we integrate with Siri? I'm like, ooh, we did this in Ionic. I really don't know. We can see if we can find a component for that. And then all of a sudden you're starting to do this stuff that's a bit more involved because you took the shortcut early on to make the thing in a framework, which I'm totally fine with, right? A lot of the times I think doing something in a cross-platform framework makes total sense. You want to get something live and get something out there. Even your clients, you want to give them the best price. You want to get, so they pay the least, but sometimes they have to understand that, if it's going to cost this much, later on, we might have to do something else. But yeah, it looks interesting. Let's see. Robbie says there's also keyword planning other than AdWord. Let's see. For keyword planning, you could either use you could use AdWord keyword tool planner. You got all the different ones, Sensor Tower and everything like that, where you could do the lookups with that. You could do a lot of people, you just use the Google Play search bar just to do the just to see what the auto suggest says. You could even use some stuff like Longtail Pro. You could use a lot of this stuff is not necessarily App Store related, but it's still keywords and stuff like that to generate stuff. And even using Google search ads. I'm sorry, Apple search ads, so that they have that tool in there so that you could search on stuff like that, which I haven't used that for like a long time, and even then I was like kind of just barely looking at it. Let's see, which came in a lot. Let's see, Testify, Ravi. I feel like a glorified secretary, not a cool entrepreneur. Testify, what? Let's see. Robbie says, I hate it when I ask for initial user review and people come up with ideas rather than testing, evaluating the app. Exactly. That's one of those, like a lot of the times, it's really weird because you're the one who's actually doing it and everybody else becomes the expert. And that was, when I did my first application, it went live and it was kind of like, the same people who said, oh, like the Ear Spy one, the same people who said, oh, it sounds a bit creepy, literally days later were going, you know what you should do? You should say, catch your ex-wife cheating or whatever, catch your cheating spouse. And they were doing stuff, you know what you should do? You should have it so you can listen to it like over the internet or something. And everybody was, all of a sudden they were getting more creepy. And I was like, no, that's not really the way I want to go with this. It was kind of like a thing where you have your vision and everybody else is jumping onto it. Like, hey, I'm the ideas man. And that was one of the things, oh God, I hate that more than anything when somebody comes along, and I've had this at least half a dozen times. I had somebody come into my office. Again, I talked about this last week, where I just had somebody wander into my office, and I'm like, no, it's not like a store. Like, it wasn't expecting, or a detective agency, someone comes in, call, make an appointment, whatever. So somebody just wandered in, and he was like an app, he's got all these ideas, and he wanted to discuss them with me, and I'm like trying to be polite and say, oh, I'm not really looking for any ideas. He goes, no, but dude, I just get them all the time. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but like, you and me, all the ideas I have and your technical skills, we would go really far. And I'm like, dude, you're just like a guy who walked into the office. And I used to get that all the time. I used to get phone calls like that. I used to get like lots of stuff. And even had a thing where I went to go get my eyes checked, and the optician was like, and he says, what do you do? And I said, I'm an app developer. And he was just like, you and I should get together because and he did this thing, and I was like, oh, I should just tell him I do something else. Just say I work at Burger King or something. But I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's that there's somebody who, the person who's in the arena and taking the risks you're the one that has to make all the decisions. You have to take the risk. You have to spend the money on it. You have to spend the time on it. You have to put it out there. It's your project to sink. It's your project to grow. And when I started, my whole thing was I was working at a consultancy, and I was like, before I ever did any apps, I was trying to convince the guy that I was working for, the owner of the company, said, we should do an app. And he's like, well, why should we do an app? I'm like, because it would be cool. Like, it was like, we really should. Like, because it's kind of like we had somebody else come into the company trying to tell them why we should go into social media. And every time we'd ask a question, why should we do that? Because everybody's on social media. But I was kind of the same thing. I wanted to do app development, but I didn't want to take any of the risks involved in it. I was also the same with outsourcing, right? Outsourcing was my thing back in, 2004 when I was like started Overpass. I wanted to do an outsourcing company. And like my whole thing was, we could outsource, outsourcing works because of this, and this, right? But I'd never even invested in it myself. Like, I was trying to get other people to spend money on it so that I wouldn't have to take the risks. And I see this a lot with developers too. People contact me saying, I want to be a developer. I want to work for you. And I'm like, well, what have you done? And it's like, well, once you start paying me, I'll start doing stuff. And it's like, well, that's not really, you got to like put some skin in the game there yourself. So, but yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Let's see. Patrick says, App Masters show last week was was about a no-code tool. Looked great until I asked how it would process data coming from an API if it needed formatting. The answer was to change the API. Well, this is just it. I mean, I totally get these things. Like I told you, we had Project Viaduct, which I spent tens of thousands of pounds on this thing with the developers working on basically we were just doing a similar thing to Good Barber or whatever, a WYSIWYG, app development thing, because we're using the Ionic framework and basically just using a WYSIWYG editor in a browser so you can drag things on and save that stuff to a local database, and then that way we could just export that and all this stuff. And it was like, and we got it all the way to the point where we could create something very basic, and we were using Mac and Cloud to compile it. So so we had that compilation thing, and that was like it wasn't too bad, but then I started realizing how much more there was to do and how limited the whole thing was, and everybody was doing the same thing. So I started looking around at just before that, and also while we were doing that, because the whole time I was like thinking, I don't know if this is like even worth doing. I was looking, I purchased Siberian, which is like a CMS based in PHP, a CMS for app development, app building, and everything like that. I purchased like an enterprise license of that. I thought that's what we'll do. We'll sell that as a service. And then I started looking at using Good Barber or Happy Pie. Good Barber are the ones I actually had a meeting with to talk about like whether getting one of their reseller accounts, how would that work. But the whole thing was these tools were very limited because it still kept falling down around the key store thing. Would we be able to get the key store file? Because like if an app does well, I would like to be able to upgrade it or like rewrite it or do something, because upgrading is not going to really fly when you don't own, the entire back end of the source code. You'd have to go and redo all that kind of stuff, and you'd be pretty much tied into to them. And I've always had this like suspicion that if you had an app that really, 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 really took off, and it was built on somebody else's framework, couldn't they just sweep in and take it over from you? I mean, if it's a small company and they're really struggling, wouldn't they try to do that? But yeah, and that's, so I will tell clients that you should do this on the Happy Pie, try to do it on Good Barber, try to do it one of the new ones, do it on this Adalo one, but just so you prototype it, see it will, see if there's a market, right? Then you're spending like no money as opposed to like 10,000 pounds to find out if there's a market for it. So at least you get something out there, but to realize that it's going to be very limited with what you do. So if it does take, so it's almost like, to me, I think these tools are probably good just to test the market, but yeah, they are very limited no matter what these app builders say. I got so much hate on one of these videos I did about like why you should, whether or not you should app builder software. For me, it's like, you don't own the code, right? You just, you can't, it's not checked into Git. It's not, it's not something you could just take and transfer to another developer. Well, maybe it could, but it's still, you're basically reliant on that framework. If they have a problem at their end, there's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, I missed that App Masters one. And that's the problem with all the no-code tools. Unless the most basic of apps, eventually you find yourself in a corner. You need to get a coder to get out of it. Yeah, I agree with that. But some of the apps that people have come to me about have been very basic apps. Especially, not so much lately, but it was like people come to me and basically they want their website as an app. And I'm like thinking, well, people don't really like, if somebody's just visiting your site, then a website makes sense. You can't ask somebody just to download an app just so they can read about your company. Like that didn't make sense it doesn't make sense to anybody. And sometimes it was like weird to have that conversation because they were so excited about the idea of having an app. And it was just like, it's like, yeah, I don't think you really need an app. Like, I don't even think, first of all, Apple wouldn't even approve it if it's just for marketing purposes. So they would like just say, oh, this is not a genuine app. It actually do something. So, it would be like, I just want to have an About Us page and all this kind of stuff. But Let's see. Kevin authors there. Kevin, thanks for sending those videos through this week. Let's see. Patrick Joseph. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. The app builder software. You know, I remember when I first saw, like, I think it might have been Siberian. I remember thinking, well, this is it. Like, this is gonna be like the WordPress of apps, right? You're gonna be, you'll be able to basically take something and write all the, but there's not this plugin architecture, right? I haven't seen any of these app builder software where you could actually say, I want to write my own plugin, like you would like with a WordPress site or something like that, where they give you an API and go, okay, I want to write a page that does whatever, reads from their API, and that's done by a developer. They seem to be pretty much closed in on that thing. Whereas with WordPress, well, basically it's open source, and none of these things are open source; they're all paid for. Jitendranish, how's it going? Hey Eric, how are you? I'm good, cool, Avatar. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for the amazing motivational videos. You're welcome. I don't know if they're motivation. It's just like, hey, this is what I've been working on. I have only a few questions. I have a few questions I think only you can answer. Only me? Is it my mother's maiden name? No, my mother would know that one. What question could only I answer? Let's see. All right, I'm looking forward to it. Let me know. Hit me with the first question. Caleb, yo, what up? What up, Caleb? What up? So, here we go. All right, question number one. Only I can answer this question. So, if I can't answer it, it just can't be answered. So, nobody else chime in. All right, oh, you guys answer too. All right, I'm an Android and Flutter mobile app developer having 6 years of experience based in India. Cool. I have a full-time job that gives me a fair salary, but I wish to start my own company to earn more to achieve goal. Of what? I mean, this is one of the things that you could start your own company without leaving your job, right? You have to make sure that that's not a condition. But the only problem is I'm the only earning member of my family. I do not have any passive income source, so I feel a little stuck. I feel like stuck in the place I do not understand how to get out of this situation to achieve. Well, that's the thing. That's, a lot of the people here, a lot of people who are watching now or who are members of or on the channel or in the Discord group and everything like that, they're in that same kind of situation. When I started, I had, well, it was funny because I was like, when I started, people would say like, yeah, I would love to do that, Eric, but you got to understand, I have a mortgage. Like, it was like, dude, I've got a mortgage and 3 children, and I've got, I'm the only one working for the family, and it's scary, right? That's why I didn't like just leap into it and go, like, when it scares me a little bit when somebody says, I'm just gonna quit my job and start my app company. I was like, you kind of need to see whether or not you get any revenue first before you actually take that giant leap, especially if the main breadwinner for your family. Like, as the I want to say the man of the house. It might be sexist for me to say that, but like, you're the one that's responsible. So you have to you have to do what you have to do, right? You're the one who goes, all right, I'm getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's exactly what I was doing. I was getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was working from 4 to 6 on my own stuff, sometimes 4 to 7, but then I started running and regularly, and then I started going to the gym. But so for me, it was like, get up from 4 to 6. I'm working on my own stuff. And then I would go work a contract, and I worked there all day. And I wasn't, it wasn't like, it wasn't like when I was at the contract, I only work on the contract. That's the thing. It was like, you can't like jeopardize that kind of stuff. So you work at that, and then you finish, and you try to finish, even though as you're walking out, it's like, Eric, wait, answer this question. So you're like, oh. So then you get home and you work on it again, and you work till late at night, and you're trying to do that. But you also have, and this is one of the things there's a lot of stress involved. You don't understand. There's so much stress involved in this, because you have to not only spend all your free time working on this thing that might work, but you also have your family that need your support and help too, or just your attention. You can't so you gotta be like, okay, and that was the thing. It felt like, I say this a lot, but it seems like for a lot of my life, I was apologizing constantly. I was apologizing for at work for being late. I was apologizing at home for being late. I was apologizing at home because I had to go work on something. I was apologizing. Like, I'm always apologizing about something. It's like, I'm so sorry. Like, it's like, and for a while it was very, very stressful. I mean, it was very stressful for a long time, but that's part of, if you're going to do something that other people don't do, you have to go through that. And I remember I used to look at, because I would go into work and I would, work with people who that was their only thing. They would just get up, go to work, go home, watch TV, and go to bed. And I was like, I couldn't believe that. Or even the people who, they were able to, like, I looked at envy with people who were able to run their own business. They were able to just get up, work on their own stuff all day long, and then that's it, right? They didn't have to like deal with other people's stuff. They weren't like going off to some client site and working on their site 5 days a week from 9 till 5 or whatever, 8 till 6 or 8 till 7, whatever, 8 till 8 sometimes, right? They didn't have to deal with any of that kind of stuff. And I thought, if only I had that kind of time. And the strange thing was, when I did get that kind of time, I was like, oh, hey, look, Flutter. Oh, hey, look at this. Oh, hey, I was just procrastinating. So sometimes having that condensed time does actually help, because you're like, you just got to get something done, and you can't be a perfectionist. You have to go live. You have to go put something out there. So let me read the rest of what you wrote here though, before I end up doing it. My dream. So my question is, what do you recommend first step to achieve my dream? I think start producing it, right? You find whatever time you can to get in there and do it, because you cannot put your family in jeopardy. I mean, you could, but what kind of person would that be? Like, you have your, your responsibility. First of all, understand where your loyalties are. To me, it was like I was working a job and I had a family. My loyalty was to my family. My loyalty was to, doing something better. And even though like the last permanent job I had, and this was before I started my own company, they talked a lot about employee loyalty and we and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, we're all one big family. And I'm like, yeah, we're all one big family. But it was like, no, my family's over here. So I was constantly trying to improve my skills, get ready, and build something so that hopefully one day, that I would be self-sufficient and independent, and rather than be this slave working for whatever. So, which might be a bit harsh, but it was not a very good work environment anyway. So that was when I went from that, I went to contracting, which gave me a lot more control over my own situation. And it was a thing, like, I would never put myself in a situation where my career is in the hands of somebody else who wants me to realize how little options I have outside of that office building. So, but then you also have the thing where, I'm the sole breadwinner, which, God, it was like a term that really, it was not popular around the house, but I was like I was the one working. Like, I was like, I had to do all this stuff, but at the same time, I'm like, am I even being a good father? Am I even being a good husband? Am I even being a good, at this? And then how am I going to get this other thing going? Because of whatever. But then you have to make it work. This is the thing. You're going to be at this situation where nobody believes in it. Your family doesn't believe in it. Whatever you're working for doesn't believe in it. Only you believe in it. And you're the only one who could do anything about it, right? And that's the thing. You're the one. God, I've been in this situation so many times where I'm the only one who believes in it, and even then, I'm willing to jump ship. It's like, I'm like this far from quitting. I'm this far from quitting. So, how can I manage both my income source and try to open my company? You got to do it small, right? You got to do that whole. You got this thing going. Can you find clients? Because you don't want to quit your job if you can't find any clients. So you might want to see whether or not you're capable of finding clients before you actually do that. Sometimes do freelance, but that's not giving me enough income to survive. Also, job frequency is not stable, so I am confused with what to do. I had to achieve my dream. So yeah, this is what we said. Like, if you're gonna release an app and you do it, you can say, okay, I'm going all in on this app. How much is it gonna cost? I told people, it's gonna cost $20,000 to do an app like that. It's a bit ambitious, and you're talking about a lot of man hours, a lot of stuff. They go, maybe I could get like a loan, maybe I could do this. I'm like, dude, test it out. Try something out. See whether or not that market exists. Put something out there. Again, use one of these app builder softwares or whatever, or create an ad for it. Like Tim Ferriss said in the 4-Hour Work Week, just create a Google ad, seeing whether or not you actually get any clicks on that, and then you're spending a little bit of money to see whether or not anybody's even interested in the thing you want to produce. And I've had people say to that, saying, "Oh, I don't want anybody to steal my idea." I was like, well, you got to see whether or not it's going to work. For me, when I started my company, I was like, it was pretty sad because I was contracting and I would save up enough money so that I could do this thing. I thought, okay, that's it. I'm going to go full time on Overpass. And the first time I did that was 2006. And I had my website done, which I'd been working on. I had my business cards. I was blogging. And so I took a year and a half and did nothing. I'd start projects and then I would kind of like on my own just to do it. I did a little bit of cold calling. Once in a while somebody would phone, but then it was like, I think they could just tell that from the tone of my voice, I didn't know what I was doing. So then I went back and took another contract. And then, so it was kind of this thing where it wasn't until I actually started producing things. And that was the whole, I'm going to do my own app, right? And I'm going to pay for it myself. I'm going to put my own time and money into it. And I'm going to put it out there. And I'm going to do my own. I'm going to hire some overseas developers and see how easy that is. As I've been saying, it would be easy all these years. And it was not easy at all. So that was like a big learning experience. And I just started to, it was just all, it was doing things in a small, it was talking big and acting. I mean, it was talking big and doing what you can, right? Because you got to see what's going to work, what's not going to work. And you, you need to take care of your family, and but you also can't let go of your dream because that sucks. Ravi says, my advice is to first create. Oh, I got a thumbs down. Sorry about that. Thanks everybody for thumbs up. But Jadeja, my advice is to first create an app, spending your evenings and start making some passive income with that. You'll gain some experience. I agree with that. Once you start getting that in, or at least even if you're doing client work, you got to see whether or not you're put a portfolio out there so that people know to come to you, and then you can start trying different things. Like if you have a job, and I know it's difficult because sometimes I even had this thing where I have somebody who wants to have a meeting at 10 a.m. and I'm like, dude, what am I gonna do? I have to take some time off or whatever, or do you mind if I take my lunch hour early? And I would go someplace which I think is reasonably quiet, but it's never quiet. And then you try to take that call, but in that situation, if you don't get that call, it's like a learning experience. If you don't get that job, that client, it's a learning experience. You're like, okay, next time, what did I do wrong this time? I'm gonna do next time. So let's see. Kayla says, nothing much, just me, OnlyFans. Oh yeah, you can go on OnlyFans. Guess. Patrick says, in the USA, it's tough because health insurance is tied to employment, and it's very expensive to buy yourself. Yeah, that's one. In England, we have the NHS, and that was one of the things that was easier over here. But still, a lot of people still said the same things. Mubarak Idris, hey, how's it going? Hey, Eric, how you doing today? I'm doing all right. I'm in Nigeria. Can you please advise me how to get more user engagement and how to produce quality apps? Do you think more apps equals more revenue? Thanks. Thanks. That was my thing. It was like thinking, I'm just going to do as many apps as I can. And so I did it on Google Play and on Apple. And so I thought language learning games, we skin them in all these different ways. And I had like hundreds. At first it was like everyone was different, and I was doing all my own, and I was hiring, developers. I was like, okay, we're going to do this one and whatever. And God, it was a lot of them weren't, but I was like thinking, I'm going to have an app. I'm going to have like my app empire, the Chad Moretta book. I'm going to have loads of apps, and even if they just bring a little bit of money, you just put it out there. It makes a little bit of money and all this stuff. And then Apple started just rejecting everything. They said, you got too many apps. They're all too similar to each other. So you need to basically combine them into like one application. And it was like, what? So that fell apart on that side. And on the Google Play side, where I still had all those applications, every time I had to update the AdMob libraries or update anything, it became a big headache because of all the different source code and everything I had to update. So and some of them didn't, like sometimes it was just like, I'm not even gonna bother this one because it's made like it hardly makes a thing, right? And if you have just like a few, I mean, it's okay to do that to see what takes off, but eventually you're gonna see, okay, this one's doing really well, and this one's doing okay, and this one's doing okay, and the rest of them aren't worth it. Then you can start putting your time and effort into those ones, right? But you know, and I think that's probably a better strategy than just putting one app out there and it's not taking off, and you're going, okay, I'm just gonna keep working on it till it does, because maybe it never will, right? I think it's better if you have a niche so that you know who to target. Like, if you're gonna like, what kind of people do you actually want to, who are they actually that you're reaching out to and stuff like that. Let's see. And how you get more user engagement. You gotta beg for the user engagement. Like, first of all, you need to get them into your app. If you get them into your application, and you get them into your application, you need to get them to review it if you can. Try to get them, some sort of feedback from them, because that's going to help out a lot. Kwamena Plays, great advice, Eric. Yeah, thanks. Let's see. Mubarak also says, please, I really do appreciate your feedback on this one, and I love all your videos. They're really motivational and inspirational. Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate that. I haven't done any in a while. Let's see. Josh Adams. Hey, Josh, how's it going? Do you think hiring a pro UX designer for an app is crucial for success down the road? I don't know. I've got this thing I've been thinking about recently because I read the Cal Newport's book. I remember the name this time. I know somebody was sending me a message about it, but I read Deep Work, and he was talking about putting the hours in, and we talked about the outliers, the 10,000 hour rule, and stuff like that. And a lot of times I tend to talk about software development as anybody can learn it, because anybody can learn software development. But it takes time and effort to put into it. So like, there's something when I think about hiring a UX designer, it's like I've worked at places where they're going, like, they need a social media person, and they're like, okay, we're gonna hire this social media guy, and a guy comes in who's like, as a developer, you're like, dude, I spent hundreds of hours learning this thing. I spent like all the nights sitting there trying to get something to work, trying to get some bit of code to work, or get something to like a nice architecture, and studying things like design patterns and what's the best way to do this and that and the other thing, and more elegant code and everything like that. And you got a guy who comes off the street and says, I set up a few Twitter accounts, and this seems to be popular. So I'm kind of jaded when I think about stuff like UX designers, because it's important, but like, I think so I've worked with a few where they're like logically, I was like, okay, so how do you get back from here? Like, to me, like wireframes and stuff like that is the developer's responsibility. But I think having design is important, I think. Sorry, I'm going on. I have Sandy on my team. She's like not necessarily a UX person, but she's a designer. So she can look at things and think, okay, I want to, get the softer look, let's get a different look, everything like that. And I think that is important. I think you need to have some sort of creative flair with the applications, but I think you also should take a stab at it yourself if you can. If you can't afford that UX designer, and if you are going to hire somebody, I would get somebody who, like, I would ask questions like I would ask a developer. Like, and again, I haven't hired a UX person, but I would ask them like I would ask a developer, like, what's trending at the moment, like what's what would be better in this scenario, like that kind of stuff, just so you have an idea that they know what they're talking about, and they're not just somebody who could draw something that looks pretty. Because I think probably in a lot of situations it's that, like, a UX designer should be thinking more about usability than about something really looking good. And as a developer, I think we think a lot in terms of usability anyway. But so I don't think it's crucial, to be honest with you. I think having a good icon is crucial. I think having good design is crucial, but the UX part of it and the usability is crucial. But getting like to get like an actual professional to do it, I don't know. Do you guys disagree with that? You guys might disagree. I might be, you know. Robert Petros, hey, how's it going? He's here. Let's see, Jitendra, thanks Eric for honest advice. Hey, no problem. Like I said, it's stressful, but don't give up on the dream, because it's gonna be hard. Like, again, you're the only one who believes in it right now, and it's gonna and again, every so often you'll be like, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore because it sucks. But then just keep going. Smash highlights. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Eric, what are your thoughts on web apps these days? I've been doing Flutter development for a while and recently started learning React.js. Okay, well, so Flutter web's kind of like, that's the one I really want to get into. Because, I mean, if you're doing Flutter, I think it's kind of a different paradigm in terms of like using something, we're using Dart and everything. But, and React.js, I use a little bit of React.js. I don't know. It seems like you're going from like with Flutter 2, and you got the web, Flutter webs, which they were calling Hummingbird for a while, is actually there. It seems like the kind of thing would be, kind of cool to do. When I look at the Flutter web applications, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Flash, like, because it's like it's not all tables and divs or whatever. It's like, something that's cool, and you got those cool animations and everything. But my thoughts on web apps, they're important. I still have, like, I was working today on one, it's just an Angular admin site, and it's just a pain. It's a pain to work on this thing because, I'm not a big Angular fan. I used to be, but I'm not anymore. It's become like this thing where I thought, produce an app for a client, and then an app, and then just a little admin site just so they can maintain it, whatever. And there's been more feature requests for this admin site than anything else. So I thought, okay, I'll just use Firebase as a back end. We use like Angular. I thought, okay, I'll just get it working, whatever. CRUD functions, a few forms, that kind of stuff. And I was like, we need to do this. We need to do this. So you realize you only have like 5 users over here. Yeah, I know, but we need this. All right, okay. But it's, so whenever I have to work on web stuff, I'm like, oh, please. So I prefer working on apps, but I think, web applications are important too. And I think we're getting to that weird stage where you have, like, it's weird when you have an app and there's not a website associated with it, and vice versa. Let's see. Theo Taylor is late to the party. Oh, Theo, man, we talked about such cool things earlier. Let's see. Cordfunk says a good UX is great, but a good UXer is rare. I think. I don't think really think things through. I think that too, and it's like it's almost like it's so easy to talk a good game. And I think one of the things, again, I've done this with. I've been in meetings with clients where they're like, I think for me, like, I don't know if I should talk about this. Like they'll bring in like a video person or a social media person or whatever, and that person comes in. They're supposedly an expert, but it's like that's a very easy skill to learn, unless they're genuinely, But it's also one that, as a newbie, you're like, okay, I need somebody to do this thing for me. And I don't have time to learn this, so I just need to get somebody to do it. And when you're in that situation, it's a bit like hiring an app developer. Like, if you don't know what a good app developer from a bad app developer, they all look the same. So like, if I don't know a good UXer from a bad UXer, I'm putting all of my faith in this one person to come in who tells me they're an expert. But if you don't know, you don't know. So that's kind of one of those things. Christian says, hey, Eric, how you doing? Doing good. I wanted to know which ways of generating traffic besides having a YouTube channel. Okay, so we're talking about generating traffic to your application. I don't know if the YouTube channel generates a lot of traffic to the apps. It was kind of like a thing where it was separate. Like I rarely talk about my apps on the YouTube channel. And when I did, when I was like a lot of times I talk about my big one, and then it got copied again and again and again. Earspy, and eventually got removed, and then people were complaining about, you only talk about that one, that's the only good one you have. I'm like, do I got other ones? But so in the end, I was like, and it was Like that bothered me so much, the copycats and everything, so I stopped doing it. So, but when we talk about like for the Overpass website and stuff like that, a lot of stuff is just plain old SEO. Like we got all these location pages from all over the country. So like if you do app development in Bedfordshire, then it's gonna be like, Overpass should come up, or at least it's in the ranking. So like, and I don't know if it's still, like, we've been doing a lot of stuff on the website, so I don't know if it's still ranking really well. But a lot of the calls we get, it's like, oh, like you're local to me, and they're like really far away. So like, yeah, but it's like, oh, actually we're not. But first of all, when I answer, I get this all the time anyway because of my accent. They think, ooh, am I calling America? I was like, well, no, but like, so sometimes I will do these long drives, like 2-3 hours to go meet with a prospect and stuff like that. But that was one thing, just using plain old SEO, like thinking about backlinks and how things work like that, and putting out content on a consistent, regular basis. You could do stuff like, to generate traffic. You could go into, you could go into groups. It depends on who on your target demographic is too. You could do, go into groups and do and post in Facebook groups, but try to do it in that sneaky way where you're not spamming them. Try to write a lot of content about it, write articles about it, do that kind of stuff. So, if your app is related to language learning, like some of mine are, you might write content that's related to that, but also searchable, so people will be searching for that and they would find that article. But then you kind of towards the end saying, or you can use this application or whatever. But if it's just like, so yeah, there's lots of different ways of doing that, and there's like there's so many SEO people out there who will talk about it. So let's see. Patrick says PWAs are becoming more popular. Google is moving some of their mobile apps to PWAs. Oh, are they? Well, cool. I mean, I've always been a skeptic on PWAs. No, at first I was like, definitely, oh, this is gonna be awesome. But yeah, I don't know. I can remember when web apps, let's see, I remember when web apps were becoming more popular, and it was kind of like I was doing Visual Basic desktop development, and you were thinking a desktop app is like, basically you have this website that's trying to look like a desktop app, and and it doesn't do nearly as well. And now I'm thinking, now you got all these apps that are trying to look like, or all these websites that are trying to look like apps, and they're they don't do as well. But a lot of times we do have apps that don't need all that functionality, like connecting to Bluetooth devices and stuff like that. But that's cool. Speciality, thanks for answering. Yeah, Flutter development experience is much nicer. I'm just a bit concerned about the download size of a Flutter web app. Yeah, but when you're on the web, do you really think about the download size? That could be slow rendering, but like you never hit a page and go, oh, this is too big, I'm not gonna do it. Like, yeah, maybe. I guess it depends. There's a lot of stuff that gets downloaded these days, though. That's something I haven't thought about. I haven't done the consideration of that. I always think, if I, like, the next time I do an admin site, I talked about this Angular site I have over here. Next time I do an admin site, I definitely want to do it in Flutter Web, because I'd rather have the same source code in both places. Joe says, Eric, I missed your daily ad mob videos from the years back. You should start doing it again. Help motivate you to boost your ad revenue to the numbers you were at. Yeah, maybe I should. I mean, I wasn't doing it every day about ad mob, but I was doing it on Snapchat, because I wasn't really allowed to show my ad mob, but I would do it on Snapchat and say, here's what it looks like today, because it would be gone like in whatever a day. Let's see, Christian Wars, thanks. Angry Dog says, Eric, do you think a saturation of apps will devalue it to the point that the income will become negligible? I don't know, because it's not like it's at the point where there's so. I mean, we've talked about saturation of apps. We're not like, it's not a new thing. It's been out there for years. The app stores have been saturated, and it's just those few that can rise to the top. You have the same thing with the web. You're putting stuff out there, and you have to get people's eyes on it. So, if you can show value for it, so no, I don't think so. I mean, every time somebody talks about things getting too saturated, or like, everything's been devalued. Something comes along and is able to make money from it. So, it's just, what can we do as indie developers actually get our apps out there and noticed, and everything. So even though we got stuff like Epic who are, apparently looking out for us, they're also taking a huge amount of market share and everything like that. So, I don't know. I think that's the same with anything, though. I think that's the same with any market that you're in. A few people hit it big, everybody floods in and tries to copy them, and then they think, okay, well, it's not worth doing it anymore. Let's move on to the next thing. But somebody's going to have a unique voice in it, and they're actually produce something that's worthwhile to people. And that's the thing. As developers and as creative people, we try to do something that's going to be useful to people. And but one of the things I do think about is so even like not doing so much the App Store stuff. A lot of stuff I do is corporate stuff, just because I think there's a good growing market there. I think the App Store does still work, and we have lots of people here on the channel who do make good revenue from it. And I guess I got my AdMob payment. No, I got my AdMob payment today. It was like £234, which is like not great, but I still need to mainly the iOS thing, the AdMob on iOS side. Let's see, web forms cringe. I hated web forms. I was about to swear. Web forms. They've been saying that for years, Angry Dog. They're the same about everything. There are too many restaurants, too many gas stations, too many pubs, there are too many ebooks, there are too many songs, there are too many artists, there are too many social media accounts, there are too many YouTube channels, there are too many whatever, you could easily say if you were gonna do it, you should have done it 5 years ago, because then things were way better. And that's not necessarily always true, right? I can remember, and I talk about this a lot. I can remember, so I got into IT, I got into software development in '98, and that's when like the .com boom was going on, and we had pets.com and all, and boo.com and all these kind of things. There were like people were spending fortunes for domain names. And and they thought as long as you get a good domain name, you'll be fine. I worked for a client that they were like so impressed that they had this domain name, and they thought, oh God, all right, they almost like building a company around it, and it wasn't even that good. It had a hyphen in it. To me, it was always like, if your domain name has a hyphen in it, it means that without the hyphen was not available. So so it had a hyphen in it, and they thought, and I remember they had an IIS server, but they didn't have a website, and they said, could we see who's actually hitting that domain? So I went and wrote some code that looked through the logs and said, you've had about 12 last month. And they go, I thought it would be like thousands a day, because that's what people thought. So when the .com bubble burst and like lots of companies went out of business and everything like that, everybody was saying, oh, it's not worth doing anymore. Like, it's too saturated. Like, oh, that time has come and gone. Right. And, a lot of people were laid off. A lot of people were software developers, and they went on to do something else because, whatever. And that was before Twitter, before YouTube, before Facebook, before so many other things. This is about like 2003, 2004. So, but yeah, everything gets saturated. Thank you for answering. I'm just trying to get myself motivated. Yeah, dude, man, you don't need to get yourself motivated. You just need to you got to sit down. Sometimes it's just that first 5 minutes. Start the project, start doing something, and once you get into it, it's almost like that. It's like pushing a car. Right? It's like pushing a car. Like at first you're like, ooh. Okay, maybe not a car. Maybe I'm showing how weak I am. But like pushing a boulder, pushing a snowball, like a giant snowball. It's that first put your shoulder in it, go, and then you start getting it going, and that's where you get that momentum. You're going to get that momentum of starting that project. So I got the sun coming through onto the camera. Anyway, so I think it's been an hour. I think we're going to finish the live stream there. I should have closed the blinds before I started this. Thanks, everybody, for joining the live stream. We'll do it again next week. I'll try to get a video out this week. I know I said that every weekend or every Monday, but thank you so much for joining the live stream today, guys. I hope you stay healthy, stay safe, and get on with those projects, Angry Dog. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good week. Bye.
trees